Welcome to Season 12 of the Social Work Rants podcast, providing an inside look of the social work mental health profession. Social work being political, the struggles of social work entrepreneurship, the intersectionality of mental health and finances as it relates to social work and society as a whole. Let's get it. Hope you enjoy. Hello, social workers, mental professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Bas Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in wherever you are watching or listening to the podcast. I appreciate all the love and support. Gracias a todos por su apoyo. Continue to follow the podcast on Instagram at the Social Work Rants podcast. That is all one word. Download, share, like, leave comments however you listen to podcasts, and of course hit that red subscribe button on the YouTube and like, comment on any videos that you like on the YouTube podcast page. So my guest at this time, making her second appearance on the podcast. Now I gotta include Dr. Dr. Marya Wright. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing great, Bass. I appreciate you for having me. And you said almost 3 years later. That is really three, right? Not four, right?
Well, almost four.
Almost four. Okay, almost four. That is really cool that we're able to remain connected, continue to support each other, see the growth and transition of our careers, and what an exciting time for us as social workers, right? Really leading with a strength-based, positive mindset. That there's a lot for us to do right now. So I'm really excited to be on this call with you.
Good, and I like that. No, I'm glad we're able to make this happen. I like that mindset because there's a lot of doom and gloom happening in the world, and we got Cheeto Man acting the damn fool, like literally, like every day. Now he fighting the Pope out of all people. It was like
the least peaceful person with the Peace Prize award. Wow, now I don't get to eat Cheetos anymore. that yeah, no more Cheetos for me. It is unfortunate, but that is my assumed perception of their position, is that they want to disrupt, they want to distract, and they want to create a positionality where we are at a loss and don't know what to do. And when we allow that to be the front runner in our lives, our professional lives, then that person wins. And if we're upset at that person winning, then we should find ways for them not to continue to win in our lived experiences. So yes, their decisions have caused tremendous harm to the country, to individuals, to families, to communities, to myself, to my family. I choose a pathway of pitting that into a certain category where it's not a front runner in my daily lived experience.
no, I like that. Yeah, mine either. I like to, obviously, stay informed and then, educate our fellow social workers on why, like, it's important, how it affects our work, and obviously it affects our clients that we serve. So it's important to, I find still trying to find that balance of like what is too much. So like, all right, enough already, like of like news, but also like live your life to how you want to live it, and just kind of, you know, still finding that balance. But it's important that we have to talk about it because there's stuff like down the pipeline that, later on this year, but still from the bill that they signed, that's going to affect a lot of folks that is not going to affect right now, but later on in this year. So just the aftermath of that. So it's important to talk about it.
Right. There's a lot of ripple effects that will continue to occur, continue to impact us, things that we'll talk about years from now, things that our children will talk about years from now, of this generation of politics, of this era in time, of the decisions that his administration made will continue to live on in history books for the rest of eternity. And that's my takeaway is that I am currently living a historical time that my children's children will read about in history books. How do I want to contribute to this time? So when those conversations are being had, what will I know I can say in confidence that this is how I handled those moments, right? If we can talk to someone who lived through a prior war, lived through civil rights, activization time. Like when they lived those times, we in this moment we get so excited to hear from them and to listen to them and to hear about those moments, and we get so inspired by them. The reality is that those people are who we are today and who we will become for the generations behind us. So, the distractions are there, the impact to our mental health is there, the discouragement is present, and it's up to us to determine how we respond to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We also are celebrating a new position.
Yes. Celebration.
No,
Yes.
but it's a big deal.
It
Let people
surely is.
let folks know what that is.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. So yes, I live in California. I'm a California resident. I've always lived here. I've lived across the state in multiple cities, and I'm an NASW member, so I'm part of the National Association of Social Workers, and I have been for a long time. I started in when I was in undergrad getting my bachelor's in social work. And I've been involved over the years. I've, attended lobby days at various points in my social work career, if you will. And most recently, I've been on the board as a regional assistant director for the area that I live. And the opportunity came up for a new election that would include a seat for president-elect of our board, of our state chapter board. And it the opportunity for me to run became about. So I was nominated, I accepted, and I ran a campaign on listening, accountability, transparency, like being available, being present, and the campaign was a success, and I won. It was a really cool response to look at the amount of people that voted and the people that voted for me, and that's why I say this is not something I won alone in silo. This was a very clear decision of voters, a voter decision of social workers in the state of California, across the state. So I'm really excited. I am the new president-elect of the California chapter, National Association of Social Workers. I'll run a 1-year term of president-elect, and then I will move into full presidency next year. And I am excited. I'm ready, and I'm encouraged by all the people that I was able to meet since my announcement this last weekend. It's gonna be interesting, but I'm ready.
Awesome, congratulations.
Thank you.
And now this is the whole state of California.
Yes.
Just to be clear
Right,
for
right.
folks.
Because California is a big state. We cover
Yes.
we cover the almost a lot of the West Coast, and it is the whole state. And that's one of the things that I ran on with my campaign is I've lived in just about every area of the state. If not lived, I have spent time and traveled there. So I'm very comfortable from the top of the border to the bottom of the border to the edge of the borders. I have been there. I've touched the ground. I've lived there. I've had an address there. I've paid taxes there. Right. So I'm very comfortable, representing the entire state. And I understand the differences across the state, and that may come also with different needs and different ways to engage them, that it's not a one angled experience for the entire state. That would be neglectful and naive to respond to this state in the same way across the whole board. So this is it is a huge honor. It's a huge honor. It's a privilege that I am in this position, and I do not take it lightly.
That, no, again, that's great. Why you decided to run? We both know the the national chapter as a whole has not had the greatest reputations, especially like the last 6 years with missteps on their social media team, and I know that their street has been doing a lot of changes. Definitely some positives, and he's a awesome individual. But like, what uh what made you decide to run?
Um, you know, it's funny. I was having a conversation with a colleague who's also actively engaged and involved in the board. And we were just kind of talking about the state of the chapter, the state of nationals, and just our thoughts of everything that's going on and what are the current needs, kind of doing like a needs assessment, like what are the
Mm,
current needs, where are the issues stemming from, and why are these issues continuing to show up? Like what's missing? And so her and I had this conversation, and it, just came about that we need a leader that is able to move the needle. The national chapter, our local chapter, are in the height of major transitions over the next year, more greater than what we've experienced so far, right? And so to have a stable leader who has been a part of this chapter for over a decade. I was introduced to it again as an undergraduate social worker. Attended our major state events, have been immersed at the national level in various ways as speakers at other states, speakers at the national conference. I sit on national committees and work groups. To have a leader who doesn't need NASW explained to them and understands the troubles that members are experiencing, because I am also a paid member. Um, that's what we needed. We needed somebody who is not new to this, but understands it and is also wanting to make sure the experience of members gets a little bit of a shift. Someone who can be transparent, someone who is available, and someone who has also been frustrated.
what has been some has a paid member
Mhm.
been your frustrations with the NASW?
Transparency, some of the things that are happening now, they say it's been going on for many years, that they've been moving towards this model or framework for many years. And having been involved, my wonder is, well, when were those things ever communicated to the paid membership? um how are we supposed to know, like the assumption that we should have known if our leadership never told us? So transparency is one of them. uh Continued active communication to membership, explaining the values of membership, right? There's so many members asking, what's like, why join, like
Mm,
what am I going to get out of this, right? Like why am I going to pay hundreds of dollars for a membership? And while I may understand the value, or maybe even at times question it, it's important that we as leaders help people understand and not assume that they're all going to see the same value. Some may see value in CEUs, yet we still pay for them. Some may
mm-hmm.
see values in the national conference, yet we still pay a lot of money to go. Some may
Yes,
see,
it's
right,
expensive.
very, some may see value in some of the networking activities, but are people able to go to that? Some may see value in the Zoom, panels, but are those, relevant to their practice? And some may see value in the online spaces that NASW creates, but some may feel, overwhelmed to engage in that. So it's really sharing with people the array of things that they can get out of this membership experience. And I was telling, this people this weekend, like this generation of social workers is not one that's just going to sit by and accept or tolerate, or just be, smooth about anything, right? They want to know, and they deserve to know. They deserve to know what am I going to get out of this? And so I see that as one of my responsibilities. And that's why I wanted to run, because I've gotten different things out of the chapter over the years, right? It's not always been the same benefits or excitement that keeps me going.
Mm.
And so I want to be able to really take time to understand what are some of the people's needs, the members' needs, and then say, oh, okay, well, I think NASW can support you here, or this is a benefit here, because it's some feedback that I've received is that sometimes people just say, oh yeah, I know I saw that table, at my school for an event, but I wasn't sure, I didn't know, right? And so for me, it's just being available to chat about it. So those are some of the things. Those are some of the reasons why, you know. And then I love social work, right? And I've been a member. I've saw value, and so I saw that I'm someone who can come in and support the membership's experience, and that's my understanding, my role, and my excitement. And the members drive me. The members, but this is one of the things that I was explaining to people, when I was on my little campaign trail, is that membership is important, but the reality is that any and every decision that the NASW makes, and I'll speak for California chapter because that's my realm,
Mm.
will directly affect all social workers regardless of their membership status. And we need to be mindful of that, right? So not just engaging paid members, but also engaging people that were once paid and decided not to renew. Also engaging people that have been social workers for years and never joined. Like, we need to understand what are those, where are those disconnects? Because there are associations out there where their entire workforce, right, is a part of it, or their percentage, right, the percentage of their workforce is a part of their association higher than what we may experience. Well, there's a reason for that, and I'm curious to know why.
I think from listening to other podcasts and from what I've seen, online, that there hasn't really been, again, maybe just my perception, like a clear messaging, like you touched on it, like a clear messaging of what's the value of NASW. And I know that so a lot of frustration as to why join or why keep the membership if I could save my money for something else, especially nowadays where money is tight, inflation's through the roof and things like that. Like why still be a member? Like where, like you said, talking about that, like that transparency and the
Mm-hmm.
where was the disconnect? Like why join?
Exactly. Like, if we like, and sometimes, when we're in a vacuum or an echo chamber, or we are so constantly doing it, or we're working so hard at doing something, we just assume people will see it, know it, and connect to it. We may lose the realization that everyone's not watching, or while they're watching, they may be watching from their seat from afar, thinking like, oh, that doesn't apply to me, or how is that relevant to me? And like, we need to not miss the mark on so many people every year, because every year they have to renew, right?
Mm.
So they get to make a conscious decision. Even myself, my renewal is up this month, right? I need to renew my membership, right? So that's been on my forefront over the last couple months. My membership is up at the end of April. What am I going to do, right? So I need to renew mine. So I get it, right? I have to see value. Well, now value, I have an elected position, so I have to renew, right? There's that, right? So that's my 1 year, right? And so, like, each year, people get to make a conscious decision whether they are going to expense the cost of being a member for this national association through their state chapter. And if we miss the mark for them that year, they may decide not to make this an expense. The students, they get a student rate. When they're only students for what, 2, 3, hardly 4 years, but really it's like a
Mm.
2 to 3 year span. And we probably got them for 2 years because they maybe, what I mean,
Yeah.
max. So once they graduate, they then make a conscious decision. Am I going to pay that professional rate? Is this an expense that I want to add in? I'm just now getting my first few checks. I have a lot of backlog on bills. there's some things on my wish list I wanted to buy, right? Like there's other things I wanted to do with my money. Do I want to keep this as an expense because now I'm a professional and I may not feel the value of it? What is the value, right? And so again, like we can't miss the mark within those 365 days if we haven't provided value to someone. And there may be people that like, oh, I had a great year with NASW, but I just don't have the money for it. That's fine too. But also, are there avenues where we can support and there's things that they can say, like, hey, I don't have the money for it, but is there some way that we can support it, right? And in the state of California, I would hope that someone would reach out to me and let me know that they want to join. It's simply the funding, right? So, like, there's going to be different reasons why people don't renew, or people feel disconnected. And I don't want to umbrella any of that. I want to feel and know the singular experiences that individuals are having.
No, I like that, and I hope there'll be ways if people who want to join, like, and funding's an issue, that there'll be ways, whether it be sponsorship or some ways to NSW kid, cover some of that cost. I think for me, one of my frustrations is you know different state chapters, like you just don't hear from them, and then they just piggyback and just repost whatever the national chapter is posting, and not like doing like their own things. And I know part of that is there was a lot of restructuring of EDs within the different chapters. So I think that was part of it. I know Delaware chapter like literally changed two EDs like twice, at least twice within the last year, and sharing an ED with another state. So like in terms of California, like what would you like to do as president, that California, so as a social worker 3,000 miles away, could be like, oh, California is doing this, like how like NASW, like Illinois is like, oh, they doing this, or like
Mm-hmm.
New York for a while, oh, New York, they ahead of the curve, they New York City chapter, they doing this, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
what what can we see or expect from like California
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
as you being president?
that's going to be the exciting part, is to the goal of California being you know, uh, a team player in this, but really, a model chapter. That would be amazing. Um, we've had similar experiences, so I just want to name that. We're on our third ED in the last few years, right? And so we've had that transition. Our ED and staff we share with Hawaii, so we've had that experience as well. I'll say that our California chapter does a really great job of consistently engaging on social media, posting, creating graphics, creating opportunities for students to engage, creating opportunities for professionals to learn, creating opportunities for people to be a part of something. And so I would say our chapter has done really well at that. And my hope is that I just expand the reach and expand the opportunity or the connection for people to actually take on these opportunities, to see that they can do this, and that it's not something that they can visually see on social media and just ignore, like because they think, oh, that's not for me, or I'm not qualified, or I'm not the best person for it. Like,
Mm.
no, like this is being shared because it's for you, right? And so, like I said, our chapter has gone through similar transitions. But I do believe this chapter is very strong in the social media realm, the graphic realm, the communicating more than just what Nationals is doing, but really running a lot of different programming. And that's something I'm proud of and excited about. And my hope is that as president, I'm able to support those efforts to engage our members, and that's what we are a model chapter for.
I know California is going going to be going through a transition with a brand new governor.
Yeah.
Uh, is it this year, right?
Yeah, primaries are coming up in June.
Um, So how's like NASW like monitoring like that situation? Is there like some involvement or what being done that would affect social workers in California, if at all?
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I appreciate the question. I am nowhere on this totem pole to know any of that. So I would be completely speaking out of turn if I said we were or we weren't, because I have not been a part of any conversation. So I am not clear on that at all. I
Gotcha.
do know that we have a social worker running for governor.
Mm,
Um, Tony Thurman is an MSW. I do know that we've previously supported and embraced him. I don't know what this time looks like. I have no idea. Really great question, though. I was wondering if I was going to see him this weekend at Lobby Days because he's attended before, but I did not see him. And a lot of, since Thursday, Friday, a lot has gone on with the candidates in California. A lot of
mm,
shifts are happening, and it seems as if it seems as if people are still waiting for the chips to land. There are so many people in the race that it is a race of it's just a race of a lot of people. And so I think people are still waiting for the chips to land, especially with what's gone on in the last week, which is candidates. And so Tony Thurman again is a social worker, and I've appreciated his political leadership. But I have no idea what the NASW California chapter is doing in regards to the governor's race. And I have no place to say that they are or are not a part of those discussions. I have no idea.
gotcha. Fair enough. Now, you as a resident of California, what are your thoughts on the current governor Newsom? I know 2028. I know 2028 is
Okay.
way off, but especially Lord knows what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
This election, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the House and Senate seats. But if there is an election in 2028, I know Newsom's name's been thrown out there for at least a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years already. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are your thoughts on him and the potential as a potential candidate being, yourself as a resident of California?
Um, California has its challenges. I've traveled, you know, near 20 states. I've gone a lot of places. So I've gone places where they have Republican governors, moderate, Democrat. So I've seen different experiences where they have high taxes, no taxes, forget about taxes, right? And so, it's expensive to live here. And not just because it's expensive to live here, but because our state taxes are so high. Our tax on gas, our tax on meals, our tax on property, our tax on purchases. So I think that's one of the things that will be challenging. And if he were to run for president, people are going to wonder, how much of that taxation is he going to try to do at the federal level? Um, I don't have any negative perception towards Newsom, and I've appreciated someone being willing to, of course, he had a really great team, but being willing to kind of take on Donald on social media and to not back down from him. So I thought that was really cool. But to be quite honest, I am still gunning for Kamala Harris. So it will determine, that's my auntie. So it will determine who his opponents are and who are the other people. But I do have a biased opinion on that. But I don't have anything negative about Newsom per se. My thoughts would just be the taxation within the state of California is not something that other states are used to. And they may be worried about that experience. And even people in the state of California may be worried about that. I think what's going to happen is whomever takes over governorship of this state will also have an influence on how the rest of the country views him and his administration.
Gotcha. I I know you did some stuff on the Harris campaign, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes. So that was really cool. I received the call. And I was asked to be a co-chair for the Social Workers for Harris campaign call. And it was facilitated through the Harris Waltz um campaign committee. It was a NASW call, essentially with people from the NASW, but it was ran by the Harris Waltz campaign team, which was really cool to experience that backstage, like election programming. But it was really great, and I felt it was important to do. She's from where I live, and she's made waves here, and she has an opportunity to do something that no one's ever done before. And I would be remiss to not support someone who I look so much like.
Yeah, that makes it. So, what was that feeling when she lost for you?
Thank you. That was a jarring experience. I knew that she had an uphill battle because
Mm,
she's an East Indy Black woman. Um, but I didn't know that people just wouldn't vote at all. Like they were so opposed to her that they just wouldn't vote at all, and that Donald's first term wasn't bad enough for them to
mm,
make sure that he didn't win. That was very surprising to me. I remember November 4th watching the news. It was very evident. They called the race very quickly. And I did not watch the news again for about 4 months. I'm a news
mm.
junkie. I love watching the news. In fact, I hardly watch regular cable. I just watch the news all the time. And so me take and I've taken breaks over the years, but me taking that break was very intentional because I needed to protect my psychological health. And I did not want to repeatedly be um impacted auditorily, visually, cognitively by her loss. It was very hard for me to process. Not that like she's the best candidate ever, like, or that like, it was more so that Black women, East Indy
Mm.
women, no matter how qualified they are still not qualified or dignified enough to receive votes. The voter turnout for her was offensive. And it just became a reality that no matter how far we've come, we have not come far enough for her to even be considered. The race wasn't close, and that was very disappointing.
Yeah, definitely disappointing on many levels. You just touched on one as it is, and I was I know for myself, I also struggle with like educating folks on the like the damage that the administration is doing, planning on doing, the bill that was signed, and now from for myself, working at a hospital 9 to 5, I'm like anxious of what that might look like. Um, and then also she had a whole plan for Puerto Rico, and myself being Puerto Rican, I like what president has ever had an actual plan for Puerto Rico? And she had a plan for those of us in the sandwich generation, like myself, caring for kids and caring for an older adult, like, and it's just all that, just, and it's like all the damage he did the first term, and it was like, and then seeing stuff online, like I'm not voting for her because she's part of the administration that's wasting our tax monies on Gaza. I'm like, bro, we could deal with that once she's in, and deal with that. Like, so I find myself like being like forgetting, not educating folks. So like, I told you so. Everything he say he's gonna do, he's doing it, and to also be like putting as much blame on people who decided to stay home, like you mentioned, but also blaming folks like who didn't want to vote for her because they were so focused on what's happening, and rightfully so. We have a whole genocide happening, but I'm not voting for her because she's helped funding a genocide. She's only the vice president. Like she doesn't make the final call. So it's like I find myself like very frustrated with those voters as well.
The irony, right? The irony that the things that they felt that the reasons that they didn't vote for her, they saw her as a police officer, they saw her as someone who is firm with the law, they saw her as someone who is going to, like you said, engage communities that have not previously been seen in those ways. They had, created a heavy attachment to everything that Biden did because she was a loyal vice president and was mindful of how she communicated about his presidency. They have a long-standing relationship and friendship and familyship, so it's deeper than just her role as his vice president. And the irony that all of those things they are still experiencing. The heavy police force in our community, National Guard, ICE, all of those things at the airport, ruining our cities, taking our people, the growth, the projection of growth with deportation camps,
Mm,
encampments, and the how the war in Gaza was ended. Now the new bombings, right? There's been quite a few, right? Yes, we're
mm,
talking about the new war, but there's been more than just that. When have we closed up what happened in Venezuela? You know what I mean?
mm,
Like when have we closed up what's happened in Guadalajara? Like we have not closed up those impacts that we created. We've just created a new one.
mm.
So I understand the frustration of what the last administration was doing in Gaza and how we succumb to that. But I agree, we could have continued to handle that. Now we have created things on different continents across the world. And that is really sad. And that damage, I don't know if we can fix anytime soon.
Yeah, it's just a lot that's happening both domestically and internationally, and we do a lot in social work. We have international social workers, so it's like it affects us all, and one way or another, you're gonna get affected, whether it be your tax dollars, funding these wars and this nonsense, or like the president just hanging out on the golf course and that taxpayer going into that. So it's a lot
Yep.
that's happening. Um, how do you plan on juggling this new you know presidency with parenting, and obviously you have your business owner? Like, how do you juggle all that?
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be important for me to communicate as well, right? That I'm juggling because I am not unique. There are several parents that are social workers. They deserve to be seen as well. And I hope that they can see themselves through my leadership, through my engagement of them. There are social workers that are trying to start businesses, trying to understand how to be a business owner, I hope that I can, share that so that they can understand I'm also growing and trying to understand and trying to figure it out. And so my hope of juggling is that as I'm juggling those different roles and responsibilities, the transparency helps other people understand the juggle and they feel seen through my juggle because I know that they are also juggling. And so my juggle will just humanize me and keep a deep level of compassion for the membership and what they are also juggling during these times.
I know you touched on this before, but just to be clear, why should someone join an NASW?
When we think about the NASW and we're talking about voting, right? We're talking about elections, we're talking about the state of the nation. When we have a strong association, we are one, we're stronger with numbers, right? We're stronger when we all work together. When we have a strong association, it creates a stronger fight at those tables. We're a membership of, this many people, and we have this many voters, we have this many constituents. We have a voting group of this many people, and we can support, create change, disrupt systems, be a strong voice at those big tables. When we have a weak association, and weak by numbers, weak by, lack of cohesion, then those big tables will not take us as seriously. They will say, well, you don't even have support from your profession. You don't even have support from your membership. You have people that don't even believe in your leadership. That's going to weaken our voice at the table. That's going to weaken our position, and that's going to make them less desired to listen to our position. When our association is strong by numbers, that those numbers are strong voices, and that the advocacy is there. When we walk into rooms, it is a stronger response to what we're asking for, what we need, and why this is important for them to hear out. And so that's why I do believe that it's important that we see that as the reason, and then the value that they get. There's so many different things that they could get out of the association, that's what I'd want to help them find, right? Because even myself, like looking on the website, I'm like, oh wait, I didn't even realize this. I'm finding stuff myself. I'm finding different resources. There's things that I still to this day do not know. And so, why should they join? Because we're stronger with numbers, and we do sit at really big tables. Not we, like nationals, you know what I mean? I mean, maybe I will at some point, in this new role. But we sit at big tables, and I don't want us to sit at those tables and kind of, and they're going to ask those numbers. Well, how many members do you have? How many people are supporting this? Have you invoked your membership? Do they even care about this? That we can say, yes, they do. And we have this many people, and we've checked in with our membership, and we're here to represent this many people. And that is the power of an association that is cohesive, that is strong, and strong with our profession of social workers, our students of social workers, our late career social workers who are still desiring a place for them to belong, and they belong here with the National Association of Social Workers, definitely in the California chapter. And there are various benefits, and I would love to chat with them about what those things could look like for them.
Where can people reach out to you?
I'm on social media. I'm on just about all the platforms. Dr. Marya Wright, Maria Marya, and connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, whatever, all those little things. And I'm there. I'm available. Message me. You can email me at drwright24@gmail. Let's chat. Like, let me know where your pain points are. Let me know what you've thought about how to solve those pain points. And then let's come up with a way where I can support you. And I would love the feedback.
Awesome. Great conversation. Best of luck on the new role.
Thank you.
I'll be watching.
Yes, yes, yes. Please, 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 and hold me accountable. Because when I'm held accountable, then it gives me energy to keep fighting. Thank you so much.